So Dave Ramsey's at it again, saying there's never, ever a circumstance where whole life insurance ever makes sense for any American or person in the world to ever buy. In this video, I'm going to give you a reason why that is not the case, and why Dave Ramsey's dogmatic hate for whole life insurance isn't relevant all of the time, and why whole life insurance for many people, millions in fact, is a great option to give peace of mind and to insure that person.
Because I sell life insurance, I want to do right by my customers. Is there a condition that someone should have a whole life policy? If so, why? No, there is not. Whole life insurance, cash value life insurance, is the payday lender of the middle class.
So that's BS, and let me give you an example of why that's the case. There are term insurance companies that will not protect and insure people's lives because of their health. And in those circumstances, what Dave never seems to mention, I would likely think he knows about this because I'm going to show you something that kind of is the gotcha here, is that whole life will, for many people with health conditions, protect, maybe not fully from the first day, but will protect with valuable insurance to make sure that those clients are covered. So I'll give you a perfect example. If I have a person who's 75, they're making low income, and they want to have the dignity of their final expenses like their cremation or their funeral costs taken care of so their family doesn't have to pay for it. If that client goes and has health issues, many health issues, and applies for a term life insurance policy, they're going to get denied, or it's going to be so egregiously expensive that they just cannot afford them, because many millions of people over 65 live on one check a month. And the other thing about it is they may outlive the term and have nothing to show for it. And before you say buy and invest the difference, all you Dave Ramsey termites out there, it's hard to do if you're making like millions of Americans a month, $1,000 a month in Social Security, and you can be all up in arms and say, well, they should have planned better, but what do you expect them not to get insurance at all? And this is where whole life really plays a great role with a certain group of people. It's a whole life insurance plan that could cover this particular prospect and get an affordable rate, many times much more affordable than a term insurance plan. And on top of that, won't run the risk of canceling like term insurance does, because simply put, this is what the client has to depend on, because their income just isn't going to be stretched long enough for as far enough to cover a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 burial, or maybe even a $5,000 cremation, because let's face it, $1,000 a month doesn't go far these days. So this is the stuff that drives me crazy about Mr. Ramsey. He should know better. He's talking to people who are in this age group at this economic level, and telling them not to buy whole life insurance is just irresponsible.
I've been screwing the middle class for decades. No one sells whole life insurance except insurance people. No one believes in it in the financial planning arena that doesn't sell it.
See, that's BS. And I'll show you why here. So I've got up on the screen here in front of me a page here on Zander Insurance, which is one of the affiliates that Dave works for to send people who want life insurance to. I'll link it in the description. And if you scroll through here, and we're looking on the screen, Zander says there are some rare instances, I mean millions upon millions of instances, guys, it's not rare, that you want to consider a burial insurance policy, such as one through Senior Legacy Insurance. While Dave Ramsey does not recommend typically a burial insurance policy, as is a cash value plan, it could be the only way to address a need for insurance if you're dealing with older individuals whose financial or medical situation does not allow for any other option.
All the independent thinkers and all the people who do financial planning based on numbers and mathematics believe whole life is a ripoff and don't sell it.
Yeah, it's, again, misrepresentation. This may be true for people who are younger, who are healthier. I'll give the benefit to the doubt of that. But this is not true if you are a person who is of limited means and certainly of bad health. To rely on term insurance as the only option and to suggest that whole life across the board is just a bad idea. It is not true. We deal with it here at my agency, the Dig Agency, and almost exclusively sell whole life. Not because we push whole life because it pays the most. Term insurance pays pretty good too, but it would be inappropriate to sell a term insurance product to a senior who's in their 60s and 70s and doesn't have the means, and really the behavior pattern too, of saving money to pay for a funeral. A whole life insurance policy, much more often than not, is going to do the job much more effectively because it never cancels, the rates never go up like term insurance eventually will, and it's much, much, much easier to qualify with, even with a litany of health issues, whereas term is going to have a hard time of touching people to cover them, even with basic health issues.
The only people who tell you it's a good idea are people who sell it.
Again, not true. We sell it because we believe in it, because there are no other options. If term was a better option and it made sense for that client, I would absolutely recommend it. But again, this is the problem when you have a wholesale dogmatic disbelief of there ever being any circumstances where something you otherwise normally don't like could actually have an applicable situation. And that's something, unfortunately, we never get from Dave. I don't understand why. He's in the age group. He knows people who are economically in this situation. I'd imagine that whole life would be the perfect fit for, and why he sits here and says term is always the answer, or that whole life is never the answer, is it's irresponsible.
That's a pretty sucky record, really, if you think about it. And this guy is a straight up freaking liar. No, I did not say in my book I had whole life insurance for tax advantages. I've written a bunch of books, and I really do know what's in them because I really wrote them. And it's just simply not in there. This guy's a bonehead liar, and you really should avoid doing any transactions with him. As far as whether you should sell whole life, absolutely not. There's only two kinds of people that sell whole life insurance. There are those that know that it's a ripoff and therefore they're crooks, and there are those that are too stupid to understand the mathematics.
Just such bullshit. It really is. He should know better. Xander knows better. Why does he not even give one iota of room to suggest that maybe whole life is good in these explicitly clear circumstances? Term insurance is not 100% across the board the best answer. For some people, saving money isn't going to help them either. They never started saving money, and the fact is their income is so low that they'll just never ever accumulate enough time saving what little they could to effectively cover it, which again, at the end of the day, is why whole life insurance makes a lot of sense for this group. Again, not super small, millions upon millions of Americans that otherwise their families would suffer if they didn't have this option available.
And they still continue to sell it, or they've just kept their head in the sand and refused to look at the mathematics.
Let's do the math, Dave. Term life insurance on a 70-year-old. Calculate the premium on that. What if they live past 80 and the purpose of the term plan is to pay for final expenses? A lot of people living past 80. It's going to probably increase for some time as far as the length of the average age of the person. What happens if that term insurance plan cancels? And then they go out and get whole life then because their income, they didn't really have a lot, they've had the term, but the need is still there to cover final expenses. They haven't saved. What are they going to do now? This is where whole life makes a lot more sense. Plus, we didn't even get into the fact of them being able to qualify from a health standpoint or not. Again, this is where whole life is the superior choice for these groups of people, generally speaking, 50 and older with health issues and limited means to take care of just specifically final expense.
The mathematics are pretty simple. Whole life insurance is roughly 100 times more expensive. So it's 20 times more expensive, I'm sorry. So about $100 a month.
That's if you can qualify for term. What if you can't qualify for term? Then term is infinitely a dumb idea because you can't get it. So even if it was that much more expensive, which is arguable, sometimes that's the option. There's no saying a mathematical argument here. When the issue is our clientele probably can't qualify considering all the health ailments and conditions they take.
$100 a month buys you the same amount of whole life insurance that $5 a month buys you in term insurance.
And I will grant this, for somebody who's 20 or 30, me personally, I sell whole life insurance. We sell to people who are 50 and older. I sleep well at night because I know I do a good job by my clients. We shop around to get them the best price, a combination of underwriting quality and value so they get the most bang for their buck. But for me personally, throughout my 30s, I bought term insurance. I continue to buy term insurance. Why? Because for the objective that I have, which is if I die younger than my retirement years, my family is taken care of with term insurance. And then I invest the difference back into my business and to some extent into the stock market, but mostly my business because that's what makes the money around here. It's a great idea, and I really believe with what Dave's saying. But again, it's this issue of saying all the way, throw the baby out with the bathwater, never consider alternative scenarios where the thing that you despise at a certain age group or under certain variables is always going to be bad. It's not. There are circumstances where it makes perfect sense.
So, no, I wouldn't sell that stuff to anybody. I wouldn't even sell that to an enemy. I wouldn't want my name attached to the lack of integrity of selling a product like that.
Again, maybe how it is sold under the ruse of an investment. Not my field in the whole life insurance, because I'm not going to say across the board that all whole life insurance is good, because then I would sound like Dave saying all whole life insurance is bad. There's room and nuance here. And perhaps looking at it like an investment, I will grant him that is not the best way to use your money, but I'm sure there's plenty of whole life insurance agents out there who know more about it than I do that would contest that, and that's fine. I'll be happy to. I'm not necessarily saying that it's bad. What I'm saying here is that, look, I'm a grown-up, I'm an individual. I can differentiate when something is good and bad, and I can see and think that, hey, look, this product is pretty good under these circumstances, therefore I feel bad, versus making these blanket statements of good versus evil, and it's always a little bit more complicated than that. And then, again, just a shame to see somebody who is in this position to help people recommend these silly ideas that just aren't true for millions upon millions of people.
And if you're a whole life insurance agent and that pisses you off, good. Because I'm a consumer advocate. I'm not here for you. I'm here for my listeners.
You're not. In this case, you're not. You say you are, but you're not helping people in a certain demographic. Now, maybe your listeners are not that demographic, but make that differentiation. Again, we're only pissed off because the people who actually help these people, who really need the help, you're suggesting things to them that are asinine, impossible to do, and are ultimately going to result in financial travesty, the thing that you speak to that you want to help people and prevent. Now we're looking at situations to where you're putting them with your recommendations in terrible waters by saying across the board, under no circumstances, our whole life policy is a good idea. Not good.
And I've consistently said this on the air since the first day I turned on this microphone. I have never wavered from it one time. And I certainly didn't say in one of my books, you slime ball.
So to wrap this up, I have to pose the question and give you my thoughts. Why does Dave do this? He's not a stupid person. He's incredibly intelligent. He's very smart and extremely successful. And I believe there's no way that Dave thinks across the board, 100%, that no way whole life is going to be sensible in no circumstance. Why does he do this? I think part of it is because it's an act. He's doing a podcast, he's doing a radio show that's super successful. And part of that act is that you have to take strong stands on things. And you have to really put a line in the sand on your beliefs if you want people to follow you. You have to have and define what is good and what is absolutely evil. And I think in this sense, this is Dave doing this. I think personally, if I sat across the table with Dave and told him this, I think he would agree with me, but he would still believe the rest of this stuff is true. But I think he knows what he's doing. And I hate that because he's in this huge position of authority, and saying that something is 100% bad all the time is either lacking intelligence or you're putting on a show. And Dave definitely is not lacking intelligence. So why is he putting on a show? Why can't he be nuanced? Why is it? I don't understand. Maybe you do. Feel free to comment below. I hope you enjoyed this video and understand if you're new to this business, whole life insurance, you can have your opinions about it, but for the people we serve in the final expense business, it's absolutely an awesome product. And the vast majority of our clients don't have the time to save, don't have the wherewithal to save. They would have been saving a long time ago in their 60s and 70s, but they don't have the income to do it. And they can't qualify for the stuff Dave talks about, which is term insurance. And even if they did, what if they outlive it and they don't have coverage and can't qualify for any more at that point and didn't have the capability to save because of their low income? So don't feel bad about selling final expense whole life insurance. It's a great product. It serves its people well. And always be aware of this kind of black and white thinking without any nuance. You got to question what's going on and really how effective it is and if it really is true or not, which in this case, it ain't. Go check out daviddeford.com if you would like to learn more about the Dig Agency and selling final expense over the phone remotely or in person using free leads, great training, and awesome commission.